Welcome to the deep dive. Imagine watching a baby in a nursery. Yeah, just reaching out to grasp this simple wooden block.
Yeah, it looks like, the most basic thing in the world.
Exactly. But beneath that tiny, uncertain movement, there's this absolute symphony of neurological computation. Like, millions of synapses are firing in perfect sequence just to close a hand around a piece of wood.
And it's wild to think about that on a small scale. But what if we scaled that nursery up, not just to the size of a room, but to the size of eternity?
Right, and that's why you're here. You want to grasp these really big ideas without drowning in, a sea of information overload. And today, we are taking your sources and unpacking something truly wild.
We really are. We have this stack of material that crosses theoretical physics with deep philosophy, social neuroscience, and some incredibly modern 2026 medical practices.
It's such a fascinating blend. And our mission for this deep dive is to explore how your mental focus acts as a literal physical tool that shapes reality.
Yeah, we want to bridge that gap between the poetic idea of an infant universe and the hard biological science of how your brainwaves actually sync with the people around you.
Okay, let's unpack this. Starting with that nursery metaphor, the texts introduce this fascinating concept called the cosmic baby.
Right, the cosmic baby.
Yeah. The premise is that we're essentially existing in this grand infinite playground, right?
Yeah.
Where an infant universe is waking up, stretching out its consciousness, and basically learning to understand its own immense form.
It's a really profound metaphor when you look at the mechanics of it, because a human baby doesn't learn to move its limbs or understand gravity by just, staring blankly into the void.
No, it interacts and plays.
Exactly, it learns by playing with toys.
Yeah.
And the philosophy in these texts suggests that the deepest challenges of our existence are complex biology, the drive for longevity, the pursuit of healing. These aren't just random accidents.
We're the toys.
Yes. They are the intricate problem-solving toys placed in the cosmic crib. Just as a baby learns motor skills by playing with blocks, the universe is learning telemetry by interacting with these living puzzles.
Okay, so life's puzzles are just toys for the universe to play with. But I have to push back a little on the sheer scale of that idea.
Sure, yeah.
Because it's a beautiful thought, but how does a tiny, microscopic human thought actually move the infinite? I mean, it feels entirely disproportionate.
It does seem that way at first glance.
Like, is it sort of like turning the ignition key in a massive piece of heavy machinery, where my hand isn't doing the heavy lifting, the machine is?
That is precisely the mechanism being described here. In physics and information theory, this is known as signal amplification, or the key and crane concept in the text. Yeah. To understand it, think about the physical forces between you and me right now. Gravity, or the trace amounts of electromagnetism our bodies emit. Over any significant distance, those forces are infinitesimally weak.
Basically non-existent.
Right. They fall below what physicists call the thermal noise floor.
Okay, wait. The thermal noise floor. What exactly is that for someone who isn't a physicist?
Think of it like the static on an old television set. At a microscopic level, atoms are constantly jiggling, bouncing, radiating heat in this totally chaotic way. That chaotic jiggling is thermal noise.
Ooh, okay, like a background.
Exactly. So, if your brain emits a tiny electromagnetic pulse, it should theoretically just get drowned out by the static of the universe. It's like trying to whisper in a hurricane.
Right, my gravitational pull or my brain's magnetic field isn't exactly moving mountains.
Right. But here's the critical shift. Information acts as the key.
Information?
Yes. Information doesn't require brute physical strength. It only needs to be detectable and structured. Think of a password to a bank vault.
I like that.
The password itself doesn't have the physical force to blow the vault doors off their hinges. But if you have a tiny amount of structured energy, the key it moves, it can trigger a massive mechanical reaction if it's inserted into the right lock.
And the lock, in this case, is us.
The human brain is the ultimate crane in this scenario. It's a highly sensitive, non-linear system.
Meaning, a tiny input can create a massive output.
Yes, just like a single photon of light hitting your retina in a pitch-black room can trigger this massive neural cascade that causes your entire body to jump.
Wow.
A single, highly focused thought acts as the key that unleashes a tremendous amount of physical agency through the crane of your nervous system.
So if thought is the key, and our brain and body act as this massive crane waiting to be activated, we really need to understand how that crane physically operates when we focus that thought.
Absolutely.
Which brings up a really relatable question from the data. Can we actually feel when someone someone is staring at us.
Scopaesthesia, the psychic staring effect.
Yes, everyone has experienced this,
It's
right?
a classic human experience. But scientifically, if you put people in a lab and strictly remove all visual and auditory cues, like no reflections, no shadows controlled, studies show it's essentially a 50-50 coin flip.
Really, just a coin flip.
Yeah. Consciously, it's often driven by confirmation bias. You remember the one time you turned around and someone was looking at you on the subway? Did you completely forget the 1,000 times you turned around and no one was there?
But wait, reading through these notes, it says we do have a biological mechanism to this. We aren't just making it entirely up.
We absolutely have a mechanism, it just isn't magic.
No.
Humans possess a hypersensitive gaze detection system.
Gaze detection.
Yeah, it's physically wired into our superior temporal sulcus and our amygdala, which is the brain's threat detection center.
Because of predators.
Exactly. Evolutionarily, we are hardwired to detect eyes looking at us. An apex predator staring at you is a life or death situation.
That makes total sense.
So when you feel someone staring, your brain has likely picked up a highly subtle shadow, a micro reflection in a window, or a tiny shift in the ambient noise of the room that you just didn't consciously register.
So your brain is basically running a background security program at all times.
Exactly. And running that alarm system, running that level of environmental focus is not just a metaphor, it is metabolically expensive.
Meaning it takes real physical energy.
Yes. Your brain makes up about 2% of your body weight, but it burns 20% of your daily energy. Attention physically reallocates glucose and oxygen, shifting blood flow away from idle networks and dumping it into active ones.
Which perfectly explains that real-world example in the stack. This is exactly why you have to turn down the car radio to parallel park, right?
Yes. It's not just you being easily distracted.
I always thought it was just weird for doing that.
No, not at all. When you're trying to squeeze a car into a tight space, the visual spatial processing requires a massive amount of fuel. Your brain literally has to steal metabolic energy, blood, and glucose away from the auditory cortex to fuel that intense visual.
The crane is shifting its internal resources to the most critical function. Let's make this really concrete for you listening. Think about how you are focusing on my voice right now. To process these abstract concepts, your brain is actively stealing glucose away from your peripheral vision and your tactile senses just to keep up with the audio.
It's constantly triaging energy.
Okay, so if focus uses that much internal physical energy, literally shifting blood around inside the skull, it has to have an outward effect on the environment and the people around us.
It absolutely does.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because the research makes it clear we aren't like shooting sci-fi telepathy beams out of our foreheads.
Right, there's no mystical force field. But you are broadcasting your focus.
How so?
You affect others physically through social contagion and mirror neurons. When you channel your metabolic energy into a state of intense focus, your micro-expressions, your postural sway, your pupil dilation, your breathing rate, they all broadcast that signal outward.
And we pick up on that.
Oh, humans are incredibly attuned to one another. Your physical state acts as a stimulus that forces the other person's brain to actually generate matching energy.
It's literally forcing their brain to do the work to match you. And neuroscientists aren't just guessing about this, right? They're literally watching it happen using hyperscanning.
Yeah, the hyperscanning data is it's incredible.
What exactly is that?
Hyperscanning is when researchers put two people in fMRI machines or EEG caps and image their brains simultaneously while they interact.
Wow.
And when two people connect deeply, say they're locked in a great conversation or solving a puzzle together, their brainwaves literally sync up. Specifically, they synchronize in the gamma band.
The gamma band?
Yeah, which is the high-frequency brainwave associated with peak concentration and, like, aha moments of insight.
But the wildest part to me was the timing of it. The brainwaves don't just match, they anticipate.
Yes. This is mind-blowing. In moments of true, deep understanding, the listener's brain activity actually precedes the speaker's.
Wait, explain how that works. How can I possibly process what you're saying before you even say it?
It's called predictive processing. When you are deeply tuned into someone's frequency, your brain isn't just passively receiving their words like a tape recorder.
Right.
You've built such an accurate mental model of their thought process that your neurons are firing the end of their sentence milliseconds before they actually vocalize it.
So you are resonating in real time.
Exactly. And this tuning happens in the rest of the body, too, through physiological coherence, specifically through something called the vagal brake.
The vagal vagal brake. Okay, let's break that down. This is related to the vagus nerve, right?
It is. The vagus nerve is this massive information highway that wanders all the way from your brainstem down through your neck into your chest and connecting to your heart and digestive organs.
It's basically the main connection between mind and body.
Pretty much. It's the main driver of your parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest mode.
Okay.
Your heart actually wants to beat much faster than it does, but your vagus nerve acts as a literal physical brake pedal on the heart's pacemaker, slowing it down.
So when you take a deep, slow breath, you're physically pressing that brake pedal.
Yes, and when you engage that vagal brake through deep breathing, genuine calmness, or deep listening, your facial expressions and vocal tone actually change. You broadcast a biological signal of safety to the other person's nervous system.
And their brain picks that up.
Right. Their brain receives that signal, allows them to release their own internal stress brakes, and suddenly, their heart rate variability, the intricate rhythm of their heartbeat, will actually synchronize with yours.
That is amazing.
What's fascinating here is that practices we traditionally brush off as soft skills like storytelling, empathy, deep listening are actually measurable neurological tuning tools. You are literally installing your frequency directly into another person's mind and body.
So we are constantly broadcasting. We're essentially walking metabolically fueled tuning forks.
Exactly.
That raises a massive question for me. If our focus is tuning the reality of the people around us, what is the optimal frequency we should be tuning ourselves to?
That leads us directly into the philosophical portion of the stack. To understand the optimal frequency, the sources suggest we have to look at how the universe handles scale, which means looking at infinity.
Okay, infinity is the ultimate canvas.
Yeah.
Because the text argues that if the universe is infinite, determinism, the idea that everything is just a predictable clockwork machine where every action is predestined, that idea actually breaks down.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, the math here tripped me up a bit.
It's a dense concept, for sure, but we see it consistently through chaos theory and Gödel's incompleteness theorems.
Godel, right. Can we simplify that?
Let's try. Imagine you're trapped inside a room and you're trying to draw a perfectly complete map of that room, including every single detail.
Okay, drawing a map.
The problem is your map has to include the map itself, and then the map on the map has to include a smaller map.
Oh, like pointing a camera at its own monitor. You get that infinite repeating tunnel effect.
Exactly. It's a strange loop of recursive self-reference. Gödel proved mathematically that in any truly complex system, there are truths that cannot be proven by the system's own internal rules.
You have to step outside the system.
Right. You have to step outside to understand it. Because the universe has infinite depth, there is always a hidden variable. And that hidden variable is the escape hatch for free will.
An escape hatch. I love that phrasing.
If you can infinitely focus on your own focusing, you stay one step ahead of any deterministic prediction. You aren't just a gear in a machine, you're the one observing the machine.
And the optimal frequency to navigate that infinite loop. The texts argue it's love, but they don't mean love as a fleeting romantic emotion or like a greeting card sentiment.
No, not all.
They frame love as the literal gravity of consciousness. How does that translate biologically?
Think about how our attention works under stress. Anger, fear, desire. These are biologically exclusionary frequencies.
Exclusionary, meaning they shut things out.
Exactly. When your amygdala detects a threat, it gives you literal tunnel vision. You hyper-focus on a single tree, filtering out the rest of reality so you can just survive the moment.
Okay, that makes sense.
But love, in this framework, is inclusionary. It is the biological and cognitive act of removing those threat filters. It's the frequency that widens the aperture, allowing you to see the cohesive forest and the individual trees simultaneously.
It pulls separate perspectives back into a single awareness.
Yes, it integrates.
So fear divides and isolates, while love integrates and connects. If love's the universal solvent, the sources frame our entire life and all of our struggles as divine play, or what ancient traditions call lila.
Right, lila.
The act of solving a problem is just love successfully applied to remove the friction of separation.
Yes. In this view, the pain we feel in life is just the friction of not yet understanding the underlying pattern.
Wait, I have to stop you there, because philosophically that sounds really nice,
Yeah.
but practically speaking, no one wants more pain.
Of course not.
Are we supposed to just smile and enjoy suffering because it's divine play? I mean, that sounds incredibly dismissive of real, profound human trauma.
It absolutely would be dismissive if we left it there, but that's the crucial distinction we make. They clarify it beautifully using the analogy of a musician learning a deeply complex piece of music.
Okay, musician.
Imagine you're learning the piano, and your fingers simply cannot keep up with the notes. There is immense frustration. There is very real psychological friction.
Sure, anyone who's learned an instrument knows that pain.
But the goal of practicing isn't to figure out how to enjoy the pain of failing. You don't want to scale the pain, you want to scale the capacity.
Okay, so the frustration isn't the end goal. We aren't supposed to romanticize the suffering itself.
Exactly. The frustration is simply a GPS coordinate. It's a physical signal pointing you to the exact boundary of your current skill level.
Ah, I see.
The fun, the play, is the moment the pattern finally clicks. Once your brain maps the motor pathways and you master the piece, the friction vanishes. Turn the key, and now you have a larger crane.
You can play even more complex, beautiful music.
Right, because the universe is infinite, there's always a level 2, so consciousness never gets bored. But the challenges are just there to force the crane to grow.
That makes a lot more sense. It transforms the concept of life from like a random torture chamber into an active classroom.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for us today? Because this isn't just high-level theoretical philosophy. This exact concept using harmony, attraction, and beauty to overcome the friction of physical pain is literally being applied in cutting-edge medicine right now.
It is, and the clinical results are staggering. It all loops back to how the brain prioritizes that limited metabolic energy, that glucose and blood flow that we talked about earlier.
Right. There's a specific documented example in the stack about a patient experiencing severe physical pain. A deeply empathetic, pleasant nurse comes in to check on them. They have a genuine interaction, and the patient's pain measurably recedes.
Yeah, and the common instinct is to say the nurse was just a distraction.
Right, but the data reframes this entirely. It wasn't a distraction, it was an attraction away from the pain.
That distinction between distraction and attraction is everything. Distraction is negative leverage. If you're trying to distract yourself from pain, you're trying to escape something.
Which takes effort.
Exactly. It requires constant, exhausting mental effort, and the subconscious burden of knowing the pain is still there remains. Attraction, however, is positive leverage.
So you're being pulled towards something instead of running away.
Yes. When you're drawn toward a higher frequency, like a genuinely pleasant human interaction or a piece of profound beauty, your brain naturally releases dopamine and endorphins.
Which are the body's natural keys.
Exactly. These neurochemicals act as physical keys that activate something called the gate control theory of pain.
Let's unpack the gate control theory. How does a chemical close a gate?
Think of the neural pathways in your spinal cord as a highly exclusive nightclub, and the brain is the VIP section upstairs.
Okay, a nightclub. I can picture that.
Pain signals travel up these small nerve fibers, trying to get into the VIP section so you consciously feel them. But dopamine and endorphins act like massive bouncers at the door.
The bouncers.
Right. When you experience profound beauty or deep connection, these bouncers physically inhibit the transmission of the pain signals. They close the neurological gates in the spinal cord, blocking the lower frequency pain signals before they can even reach your conscious mind.
So the pain doesn't just bother you less. The signal literally doesn't arrive.
Exactly, it doesn't arrive.
And hospitals in 2026 aren't just crossing their fingers and hoping for pleasant nurses to trigger this, right? They are engineering this attraction into the architecture itself.
They really are. They're treating aesthetic beauty as a core clinical requirement. We're seeing the massive rise of neuroaesthetics. The old, cold, clinical hospital environments, the buzzing fluorescent lights and sterile white walls that actually induce anxiety, they're being replaced by biophilic design.
Biophilic meaning natural elements.
Yeah. They're integrating living plant life, warm natural lighting, and organic textures right into the recovery rooms. And for acute severe pain, they are utilizing high-tech virtual reality analgesia.
Which is wild to think about. They are literally putting burn victims in VR headsets to manage pain.
And it works profoundly well. By immersing a patient in a highly aesthetic, perfect visual world, like a serene, snow-covered landscape, while their burns are being treated, they're retraining the brain's pain pathways.
Because it demands so much focus.
Yes. The visual cortex becomes so captivated, so attracted by the beauty, that it recruits massive amounts of metabolic energy. This forces the brain to deploy those bouncers, which actively inhibits pain signaling in the anterior cingulate gyrus, the part of the brain that processes the emotional suffering of pain.
That is incredible.
Studies show this kind of immersive aesthetic attraction can reduce perceived pain by up to 46%.
Almost half the pain physically gone just by giving the brain a better, more harmonious frequency to tune into. That is unbelievable.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it aligns perfectly with how modern neuroscientists like Anil Seth describe human perception. He argues that reality as we experience it is essentially a controlled hallucination.
A controlled hallucination?
Yeah. Your brain is locked inside a pitch-black silent skull. It has no direct access to the outside world. It's constantly making its best guess at what's out there based on the electrical sensory data it receives.
So if reality is literally a controlled hallucination generated by the brain, then when we tune in to a harmonious frequency, when we consciously focus on beauty, or engage in that inclusionary state of love, we are actively choosing to hallucinate the cohesive, beautiful forest.
Precisely. Discordance, stress, and fear make the forest disappear, leaving you overwhelmed by chaotic, disconnected, and painful trees. But finding that harmony allows you to see the underlying pattern. It removes the burden of the pain by expanding your perspective. It's the crane lifting you above the maze.
This has been an incredibly dense, fascinating journey. Just to synthesize what we've covered for you listening.
Yeah.
We started with this vast image of the universe as an infant in a cosmic nursery, right? Learning to move its own infinite body through the problem-solving toys of our daily lives.
Yeah.
We discovered that our brains are highly sensitive cranes that run on literal metabolic fuel, and that the physics of focus allows our brain waves to predict and synchronize with others through empathy and the vagal brake.
It's all connected.
And finally, we saw how the philosophical concepts of love and beauty aren't just poetry. They are actual, measurable, neurological bouncers being used right now to close our pain gates and connect us to the infinite.
It entirely redefines what it means to pay attention. Your focus is not a passive camera just recording the world. It is a highly active, physically consequential force that alters the reality of the people and the environment around you.
And that leaves us with one final provocative thought from the sources to mull over. We briefly touched on the mathematics of fractals. You know, the idea of as above, so below, where every tiny part of a fractal contains the exact mathematical map of the entire whole.
Right, like a fern leaf.
Exactly. Think of a fern leaf, where each tiny frond is a perfect miniature of the whole. So the research shows that during moments of deep insight and pure focus, your brain networks actually organize themselves into these exact fractal patterns.
Which is incredible to think about.
So if your mind physically mirrors the structure of the cosmos,
Yeah.
what if the simple everyday choice of where you direct your attention isn't just you observing the world? What if your conscious focus is the exact mechanism the universe is using to invent its own future?
It's the ultimate empowering framework. It raises the most important question for all of us, really. What reality are you choosing to build with your attention today?
A huge thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it gave you a completely new lens to look through. Next time you see a baby reaching for a wooden block or you find yourself captivated by a beautiful piece of art, remember the immense cosmic leverage you hold right behind your eyes. Until next time, keep exploring.